Immediately after Russia's record attack, Ukraine responded with an attack of unprecedented scale. Well over 1,000 one-way attack drones were used against Russia, including Moscow, currently Russia's best-defended airspace. Cursing residents are recording videos of Ukrainian drones flying over the city, while Russian mill bloggers are shocked and say that their own authorities are lying and that this is only the beginning. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are also continuing to hunt Russian air defenses and are once again hitting Russian warships. All of this in this situation report. Holy says you can now save the most at Holy with my code. Robert Brofty, commander of the Ukrainian unmanned forces and known by the call sign Magia, writes on Twitter, "Moscow will never sleep again from now on. Version 1705, so it probably means today. The chances are now even the one-sided arrangement for a peaceful life in and around Patriarch's Ponds has been revoked. This refers to the Patriarch Ponds neighborhood. That's an upscale neighborhood in Russia. In recent years, a new social contract has developed in Russia that you could live outside of the war as long as you weren't against it. Life outside of the war is now over in Moscow. And even though Russia has positioned most of its air defense in Moscow, and Moscow is the most heavily protected area, there have been a number of successful attacks. And yet, many Ukrainian drones have gotten through in the past few hours, so that at times you could even see drones flying in formation. One reason for this is the ongoing attrition of Russian air defenses since 2022. Here we see a jet-powered drone, which was most likely funded by Germany, being used here. The reason for this is the ongoing attrition that has been taking place since the beginning of the war, which has drastically accelerated in recent months and has far exceeded Russia's ability to replenish, that is, to produce more air defenses. No one in Moscow can say today that the war is not destroying them, not only because the airports once again had to suspend operations, but also because serious strikes were landed once again. Once again, Ukraine has targeted industrial and energy facilities as well as the Russian military. And even though there were civilian casualties, the latest report from the Russian side mentioned 3 civilian victims. Numerous high-value targets were hit. The SBU reports that a plant in Angstrom was hit, which produced semiconductors for the Russian military-industrial complex. It is subject to U.S. sanctions. A refinery was hit in Moscow, the refinery there, an oil pumping station in Sonechnogorsk, and an oil pumping station in Voivodorskoye. At the same time, air defense systems and drone control centers in Crimea were attacked again. Muscovites woke up last night to the sounds of air raid sirens and anti-aircraft fire. And again, explosions broke the silence of the night. Getting a good night's sleep was out of the question. But fortunately, it doesn't have to be that way for you. And today's sponsor can help with that. We spend a third of our lives in bed. Good sleep is not only important for recovery, but also for your health. Still, many people sleep on mattresses they've picked up somewhere, inherited, or that are decades old. That's why I couldn't resist the chance to have a high-quality mattress at my parents' place, so I could finally get a good night's sleep when I visit. Today's sponsor made that possible for me. Emma. The Emma Elite 27. The air-grade mattress is soft, and at the same time stable enough that I don't sink in. Yet I still sleep comfortably cushioned. Its 27-centimeter height allows for flexibility. It's cushioned in a way that it gives in at the right spots without making you sink into the mattress. The covers are removable and washable. I've rarely slept better during visits to my parents than on the new Emma mattress there, and I can wholeheartedly recommend it to you. And while I unfortunately couldn't take the mattress with me on the plane, we're now using pillows here in Panama. I don't think I've ever had a better pillow. Emma is so confident in its mattresses that not only are they delivered for free, but you can also try them out for 100 days. If you're not convinced, you can have the mattress picked up again for free, so there's no risk involved. Your sleep deserves an excellent mattress. And until June 5th, many products are up to 50% off. With my code Heinrich Sleeps, you save an extra 5%. You shouldn't miss out on this offer, because after 100 days, you won't want to sleep on any other mattress. The extent of the Ukrainian attack becomes clear when you look at the Russians' own statements. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated that a Flamingo and a Neptune, meaning 2 cruise missiles, were shot down during the attack. In addition, according to the Russians, 1,054 one-way attack drones were intercepted. Naturally, the number of impacts that were recorded is correspondingly higher. Here we have two majors. Traditionally, the ministry does not report the number of attacks, only the successes. That means, overall, the enemy has launched even more attacks, especially when you add the drones that were shot down over 9 regions. Of course, this refers to the territories annexed by Ukraine, because Ukraine has also combined these attacks with strikes on Crimea, in Kherson, and in Zaporizhia. Further attacks were also carried out there, in the rear and deep rear areas. The Russian deputy, Dmitry Rudensky, Rogozin comments on this. Do you think there will be fewer? No, their number will increase. The flight paths and operational strategies have evolved. They will look for gaps and weaknesses in our defense and overload the country's production and technical capacities for manufacturing guided anti-aircraft missiles, each of which cost several million rubles, with their styrofoam drones. They will concentrate their attacks on one or more regions, and they will determine their attack targets in advance with the help of satellite reconnaissance and agents on the ground. Ultimately, they will carry out complex attacks using long-range drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and FPV UAVs, that is, first-person view drones, which were previously brought to the attack site by all means and methods with the help of DRG, with deep reconnaissance groups, that is, with agents, if you will, who operate far behind enemy lines. Sasha Kotz also comments on the whole thing. For the first time, the number of long-range drones shot down has exceeded the 1,000 mark. In the past 24 hours, an average of 44 drones per hour were shot down. Our anti-aircraft soldiers, MOGs, that is, mobile anti-aircraft groups, and drone hunters have, of course, done an excellent job. However, one must not overlook the fact that the enemy's attack capabilities, which are supported by the industrial and material base of the European states, have increased, and the number of drones penetrating deep into our territory will continue to rise. These are staggering numbers that were simply unthinkable not long ago, and Zelensky commented on this accordingly. Our responses to the Russian prolongation of the war and the attacks on our cities and communities are completely justified. This time, Ukrainian long-range strikes have reached the Moscow region, and we are making it clear to the Russians, your state must end its war. Ukrainian manufacturers of drones and missiles are continuing their work. Thanks to the SBU and all the armed forces of Ukraine for their precision. Distance from the Ukrainian state border, more than 500 kilometers. Concentration of Russian air defense in the Moscow region, the highest. But we are overcoming it. There were also successful Ukrainian attacks in other locations. The Ukrainians are making fun of the Russians here with an inscription on the wing of one of the attack drones, who always claim it was falling debris. The Ukrainians report an inscription on attack drones. The Russian mill blogger Romanov addressed this yesterday, when the governor of Stavropol denied that there had been any damage, while images of fires were being circulated. According to a statement from the governor of the Stavropol region, there is no damage on the ground. Only trust official sources. If you see something with your own eyes that contradicts the statements of official sources, do not believe your eyes. You see something, including the attacks on ships and other targets. I'll play it here in the background, where we can see the attacks that the Ukrainians have released. Additional air defense systems were attacked in the strikes around Crimea. There were also further attacks on drones, control centers, and so on. We have a long list here. You can pause it there and take a look yourself if you want to see everything that was reported as attacked. In addition, the Russians have also reported the destruction of 10 sea drones. So there were also drone attacks by sea. At the same time, Ukraine's unmanned forces confirm that they are now using drones with 8 unguided rockets. We have talked about this. Here we see footage from one of these drones firing rockets at ground targets to attack something there. These can, of course, suppress enemy air defenses or attack lighter targets, 500 kilometers behind the front, where Ukrainian fighter jets and attack helicopters cannot operate. And all of this while the drone, after firing 8 of these rockets at targets, can then crash into a target itself with its 60-kilogram warhead. So if we look at the overall situation now, Ukraine has demonstrated that Zelensky's decree, which allowed the Russian parade on May 9th, was justified, because attacks of this kind could have also happened on May 9th. According to Russian mill bloggers, only 120 drones were heading toward Moscow. And yet many managed to break through the air defense ring, so Ukraine could have sent hundreds more. Russia would have had no chance to prevent attacks on the parade. This shows the current erosion of Russian air defense capabilities, which I have already discussed in the past. After years of attrition, the Ukrainian campaign against Russian air defenses has gained significant momentum since around the turn of the year. Every month, more and more air defense systems are being reported destroyed. Usually more destroyed air defense systems than in the previous month, and usually this is also supported by images showing that the attacks are actually taking place. So Russia has long had to prioritize its air defense, which still allows for high protection of some targets, but leaves others largely exposed to Ukrainian attacks, simply because choices have to be made, and you can only have strong air defense in one place, if you don't have enough, by pulling air defense away from other locations. At the same time, the number of Ukraine's strike assets is increasing, and with it, the possibility of saturation, as today's attack on Moscow has shown. Even if the Russians concentrate their air defense, the Ukrainians can still get through, because they can now deploy so much that they can oversaturate the Russian air defense. In other words, even if the Russians can massively concentrate their air defense, Ukraine can now send so much that they can still get through. On top of that, the Ukrainian systems can now fly even farther, which means additional protection is needed in more and more places. But most of this still uses drones that are easy to intercept and have small warheads. What will it look like when the cruise missiles and ballistic missiles currently in development are combat-ready and also join the fighting? Russia is currently learning that it's easy to start a war, but to end it, cooperation with the other side is necessary. And with these attacks, Ukraine is making sure that pressure is increasingly mounting on the Russian side to perhaps negotiate more seriously with Ukraine about ending this war. Pressure on the Russians grows daily as Ukrainian attacks become increasingly successful. That concludes the situation report on Ukraine. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and comment if you'd like to add something. And if you're new here, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and click the bell. And if you really want to sleep well, unlike the residents of Moscow, then I'd like to recommend today's sponsor to you. That's all from me for now. Thank you very much for your attention and see you soon. At this point, I'd also like to give my special thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Mahamori and to the lieutenants Jans vom Eck, Uwe de Vrien, nickname 2BIP, Carsten Schulz, Robert Viel, Vision, Soundlab, Lichtschatter, NTX, Malermeister Nagel, Markus F. Alex Rosenthal, Matt Best, Sigrider 666, Möter 1000 Janis Sascha Müller, Cunningham, Oistar. Thank you very much. Without you, this wouldn't be possible.